Ladies and gentlemen, we are delighted to gather here this evening to celebrate 67 years of Israel's independence and also 21 years of diplomatic relations between Israel and Ireland. Yes, that relation we call diplomat has turned 21. This evening promises to be very, very lively and energetic. The Tel Aviv University Dance Company will be performing. But first, I would like to invite Israel's Ambassador to Ireland, His Excellency Mr. Boaz Modai, to officially begin this evening's ceremony.
Mr. Charles Flanagan, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Mr. Jimmy Dinahan, Minister for the Diaspora, members of the House of Orachtas, ambassadors, colleagues, members of the Jewish community, friends and supporters of the State of Israel, my friends and colleagues at the Embassy of Israel, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, welcome to you all, and thank you for coming. We have come here to celebrate the birthday of the State of Israel. In Israel, 67 is the age when workers retire from their jobs and look forward to rest and relaxation. For our country, an age like that is a very different matter. For the Jewish people, who are a nation since the time of Moses, 3,300 years ago, a state that was reborn 67 years ago is only in the youth of its days. Israel today is filled with enthusiasm and youthful spirit. Today, as in the past, it is an inspiration to so many around the globe because there seems to be nothing that is impossible for Israel and its people. We have doubled our population. Between 1984 and 2014, the population of Israel grew from 4.1 million to 8.2 million, while increasing our gross national product by more than tenfold in that time. The GNP per capita is 6 times greater than it was only 3 decades ago. The number of students in our universities and colleges has increased fivefold, from 64,000 to 306,000 in those 30 years. The yearly inflation, which was 450% in 1984, fell to 1% in 2014. Unemployment in our country is as low as in the USA and is around half of the average European employment rate. Ladies and gentlemen, you may know that according to a report published lately in the Wall Street Journal, Tel Aviv takes 3rd place among the dozen most important cities in the high-tech world after Austin and San Francisco, and ahead of New York, Stockholm, London, Singapore, and others. In another economic ranking of 148 countries, Israel takes 1st place in innovation, 2nd place in entrepreneurship, and 3rd in global inventiveness. This year, 86 Israeli companies are quoted on the US stock exchange, the Nasdaq, the highest for any country outside the USA and China. Can you imagine that? Friends, I don't want to limit myself to dry economic data. So let me give you some more revealing and maybe surprising facts that tell you something about the kind of society we are. Israel is the only country in the world that has more trees on its territory at the start of the 21st century than it had at the start of the 20th century. In our case, many, many more. Israel holds second place in the world for the number of new books published each year per capita. Israel is one of the only 8 countries in the world with the capacity to launch satellite in space. With more than 200 museums, Israel is first in the world for number of museums per capita. Israel produces more scientific papers per capita than any other country on the globe. Ladies and gentlemen, this time, as you've just witnessed, I do not try to hide my feelings. I had to tell you why and how much I'm proud of my country. I'm honored that I had the chance and the opportunity to represent my country as Israel's ambassador to Ireland for almost 5 years. This is our 5th and last celebration in Ireland of Israel's Day of Independence. When I think back over the past few years, I have so many warm memories. Well, maybe not about the warm weather, but that is for another day maybe. This is a special country. Like Israel, Ireland is a small country which has given so much to the world in so many fields. When we arrived here 5 years ago, my wife Nurit, who is also my deputy, as you know, my children and I knew a lot about Ireland's history, but we had no idea what the future would bring for us here. These 5 years have brought us more than we could have imagined. We did our utmost to open new channels of activity and to strengthen and develop the relations between Israel and Ireland. There have been too many highlights to mention, cultural events, milestones and friendships that will last for long after our departure from these shores. I believe that relations between Israel and Ireland have a bright future of growing understanding, cooperation and good friendship at all levels. I spoke this evening at greater length than I usually do, but I felt that this was my last opportunity with a captive audience like yourself. I know that you are looking forward to the biggest and most joyful part of the evening, the Israeli folk dancing, which will hopefully encourage you all to tap your feet. That's a recommendation and a request. Thank you again for coming and enjoy the evening.